Hey Rory, do you know what the top rank is in the popcorn army?
The top rank in the popcorn army. No?
Yeah, Colonel.
I don't know where you get these from.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of That Class, hosted by your two favorite class holes, myself, Duncan Malcolm, and my co-host, Ruaridh Kidd. How are you this week, Rory?
I'm good, man. I'm very good. I've had a good week of 5 a.m. starts, 5 till 11. So I've
Oh,
spent most of my afternoons napping and then struggling to sleep at night to then wake up at 5 again.
oh, the world's tiniest violin is playing somewhere for you.
Yes, just like this.
Tiny.
I've got something for a nice audio segment for the listeners, which
Oh,
we sort of toyed with, I think, on the pilot episode of the second episode. But for those of you that are watching visually, you know what's about to happen. But for
oh,
those of you
oh.
listening intently, just put the volume up ever so slightly and just listen. Isn't that just audio gold?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that
it
sounded
is.
good in my headphones.
It sounded good in your headphones.
I also just
It's
want
a
to say that if there is some like traffic noise coming down, I have changed rooms again because I'm trying to find the optimal position for this pod. And the bedroom's fine. It's good for like setting up my laptop and my microphone, but I'm right next to a window, which is right next to a main road. So I
oh,
apologize on any
fantastic. So
cars driving past.
sirens, you're definitely going to get sirens now that you've mentioned it.
Yeah. But enough about me. How are
Okay.
you, Duncan? What have you been up to?
I am very well. I'm not too much this week. Just another regular old week. Can't really do much nowadays. It's just COVID. We're all just waiting for our jabs, vaccines, and just
Yeah.
waiting for everyone's just counting down to when the pubs open again. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what it is. That's all we can do.
It's a shame,
Circling
isn't it?
26, circling April on the calendar
We
relentlessly.
I woke up this morning and was like, if it wasn't lockdown, what would I be doing? Like, what would I do? And it's a Sunday, so probably not
Hmm,
much different.
Not
But
much.
maybe go to the
Maybe
cinema.
maybe go to some maybe meet friends, maybe meet some friends at the pub. I
Yeah,
don't know. Is that it? Is that
yeah. Um,
uh fun
well,
times? Well, yes, welcome everybody. Welcome. We hope you're all well. We hope that you are your commute is has gone well, whether it is on the way to the office, to the kitchen, to your living room, wherever you go to these days, like we just said. I mean, are you still living that furlough life? Let us know.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, keep liking, keep subscribing to us. Make sure you leave us reviews if you like our content. Wherever you listen to your content, it could be iTunes, it could be Spotify. But we've got a lot to get to today, so we'll just skip past that and get straight into the news. Rory, we've been accused of being Marvel. We've been accused of being Marvel sleuths, so we may as well talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Uh, it came out on Friday. It's the next Disney Plus series from Marvel.
Mm.
6 episodes.
Oh, it's six.
They only released one. I think they're going for like 6 hours a piece because WandaVision was half hours.
Yeah.
So they kind of, I think, we add it all up. Roy, your thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Initial thoughts, love it. Like I'm all in already. It's what I love about it is it's so different to WandaVision in that WandaVision left you asking questions a lot and being like, where is this going? What's going on? Whereas this one's almost like it's straight off an MCU movie. Like it's straight back into the
Yeah.
action. You're thrown in to Cap telling Falcon that, you know, the shield feels like it belongs to someone else, and Cap's like it
Mm.
doesn't, it belongs to you. And I feel like in hindsight, after watching the episode and listening to a few more reviews myself, that's maybe where the whole show is going. It is Falcon's realization that he is eligible to hold the shield, and he is good enough to be the next Captain America.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be like Captain Falcon or something like that.
Captain
Although I'm sure
Falcon,
Nintendo will
yeah.
have a problem with that. But it sounds
Nintendo.
like because I think he does become like Captain America, and like he's been Captain, like been taken
Yeah.
up the mantle before or whatever. I thought it was good. I'm I like the fact that they opened it with like the the fight scene on the airport.
Yeah,
I thought
dude,
was
the
pretty
squirrel
cool.
suits were so good.
Squirrel suits were good. It also like a realistic-ish fight, I
Yeah.
guess, because like the actual taking the windsuits into the helicopters, if you know that has been done. Red Bull guys have done that. I
I
thought
was
having George
genuinely
St.
surprised
Pierre,
at that, though. I was like, "Fuck, people can actually do that."
yeah, they can. It's pretty mental. I wouldn't try it myself, but you know, each to their own. I like the fact they brought George St. Pierre back, a legit
Yeah.
bad guy.
What was he in initially?
He was in the Winter Soldier.
Ah, right, okay.
And they didn't kill him, which is good. And he survived again, so that's fun. Obviously, we've completely spoiled. We've not really spoiled this episode, but spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by the Falcon story yet, but I quite like the Winter
Bucky
Soldier story.
Yeah.
I think the Winter Soldier story is. I think he's just a cooler
I
character.
think we both, because we mentioned this before, we were both kind of skeptical of the Don Cheadle. Can he carry a TV show himself? Like, because he's always
Anthony
kind
Mackie, yeah.
of. Sorry, yeah. Who am I?
Yeah.
Oh, Don Cheadle's.
Don Cheadle's also in it.
He's also in this
yeah.
program. Which
yeah,
I was so surprised. Well, actually, I wasn't surprised that I went, "Oh yeah, that makes sense that he's in this because he's in the Air Force." And then I just thought, "Wait, this is another Marvel actor that you've paid to be in like a couple scenes."
Yeah.
And then I looked up the budget, and it's 25 million an episode. But no, I totally agree with your thoughts on Anthony Mackie, because him and even Sebastian Stan were so B plot characters.
Yeah,
never
100%.
really had the limelight to like get their character development and get more than like a sentence out in a whole movie.
Yeah, I think Winter Soldier's definitely had more because he's technically in Civil War, Winter Soldier 2, Civil War.
Yeah, but he doesn't have much dialogue. You don't really know a lot about him.
You don't hear him talk. But I like the fact he has a list, and unlike Steve Rogers' list where it's things he missed, his list is just making amends for all the people that he has fucked up over the years.
I heard
he's
it
done
be
some bad things.
I heard it be compared to My Name Is Earl list. He's basically just going around all the people he fucked over in the past and apologizing.
That'd be so much better if
that
he just
scene
had a random episode with Earl just turning up to help him.
The scene where you actually see and they're talking to the psychiatrist, and he's like, "And did you do the third thing?" He's like, "Yes, of course I did the third thing." And he's like, "My name is Bucky Barnes. I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I'm trying to make amends." I thought it's very clever of how he's dealing with everything. Because again, I think that's what these are. Is WandaVision was how she dealt with after the blip. This is now how these two are dealing, because they were blipped, were they not?
Yes, they were. Both were.
And the financial question that we all apparently had was, you haven't been working in 5 years. It's like, well, I've not been alive.
Yeah.
And they can't get a loan from the bank.
That's the sort of real world problems that Marvel likes to gloss over. It's like they did in Spider-Man, for it's like the end of the Avengers battle, and there's just like a bunch of guys sweeping it up. To like, so somebody had to.
People have to do that.
Damage control.
Exactly. But overall, very excited for this show. I was so excited when it was Friday and I realized it was Friday, and then I realized it was an hour episode, and I was just like, let's fucking go. And I had fun. I'm so keen to get going with this series. We could probably do like a impression every week if we want to.
Could do. Might gloss over it. Might save
gloss
it for 2
over
weeks and talk about it if it progresses.
Do an extra episode that is specifically Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Maybe. Yes. Once again, delving deep into the Marvel mythos.
The Marvel podcast that this is, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. One of these days, Disney will pay us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, that is, if you've read the topic, Disney might start paying us soon, because we get deep dive into other things. Moving on to the next part of the news, which you're now coining the Rory rants.
No, I'm going to call this bit Rory rants, because I know what you're about to talk about, because the thing that we kind of slagged off last week has now come out, which is the Snyder cut of the Justice League. Now,
Yeah.
I've watched the original Justice League. I haven't seen the Snyder cut. However, you have okay, you stretching
I'm
like
stretching. I'm getting ready.
stretching like just the veins starting to appear in your forehead.
Oh.
So you have watched the Snyder cut, Rory. This is I'm going to coin this a Rory rants, I think, by the end of this, but we'll wait and see what happens. I think there could be some genuine emotion here. Rory, why don't you tell us about your impressions of the Snyder cut? By the way, there will probably be some spoilers if you haven't seen any of it. So,
Yes.
just bear with us here. Okay, Rory. What
So
did you think of Justice League Snyder cut?
so first, straight off the bat, 4 hours this movie is.
Right.
It's a 4-hour movie.
Okay.
And the original was, I think, a 2-hour movie, maybe just over 2.
Yeah.
That itself was quite a disappointing movie. Was not as good as I hoped it would be. It was basically DC forcing an Avengers movie. So
We
when it
want
comes
this is
to
Avengers from Wish.
yeah, when it comes to 4-hour version of this movie, that right, here we go. I've titled this comment "Borefest 2021."
Right.
I watched
Okay.
the first 2 hours of the movie, genuinely could not continue with the rest. I paused it to go for a pee and realized I was only 2 hours in, and I think it's just after they have the fight underneath the Gotham Harbor,
Oh,
and
okay.
then Aquaman is introduced. That's 2 hours of the movie. There's
Jesus.
way too much detail. I mean, I get why, and I spoke to my old flatmate Fraser about it, who's a huge DC fan, and he said if you watch it like it's like a project rather than a blockbuster movie, then it makes sense. And I'm like, I'm not watching it like that. I'm watching
Yeah, I
it
don't.
like a fucking blockbuster. I
Nobody
want to
got time
get
for that.
yeah, no, I want to get gripped in literally as quickly as I got gripped into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But this movie has so much character development that they're just shoehorning and forcing down your throat because they need to get this into this movie because they're adding so many new characters that you don't know about that you have to care about because of what might happen in the other 2-hour movie that happens after the first 2-hour movie. So way too much character development. Could have done like you could have built up to it. Solo movies. That's what Marvel's done really, really
Yeah.
well. And and then you've got Darkseid and his minions, and I feel like I'm just comparing it a lot to Infinity War, and it's just not the same movie. It is a terrible. I it's a words. I don't even have words. I'm so angry at this movie. Ezra Miller. I like Ezra Miller as an actor. Him as Barry Allen, the Flash, is awful. I want to punch him in the face every time he's on screen. He's so dislikable, unlikable even. I don't hate the actor. I just hate the character or the way that he's playing the character. And I genuinely wanted him to get injured or die so that he wasn't in the rest of the movie. Also, side note for most of the same things, Cyborg, who we talked about last week, I don't really care about him either. Like he got more character development, but man, Jesus. Another thing that annoyed me, just going down my bullet points.
That's it.
4:3 aspect ratio, which apparently is because it was meant to be. Yeah, it's meant to be for IMAX, but when you watch it on a widescreen television, you've got 2 black bezels, and then the movie, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I thought I would get used to it, but the more I watched it, the more I couldn't help but look at it,
All right. Okay.
and notice that it was there. And then coming up to like the 2-hour mark, I sort of started thinking to myself, I didn't really enjoy the original. So why am I using up my time to watch a 4-hour movie version of this? I genuinely felt like I had better time. I could use my time better while in a lockdown, which we have so much time to do almost nothing.
Everything.
Yeah, and everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Like genuinely, this movie was so boring to me that I would rather have done nothing. I've given this, I guess, because we asked people to rate us 1 to 5 stars. I've given this a 2-star rating. Would not recommend.
That's 1 star per hour, so they're on the way for 4.
So it could be a 4-star movie, or you could deduct stars as the hours keep going.
that is also true. It could end up being a 0. Yeah, I don't I kind of feel like I want to watch it. I might use the free trial of Now TV and sit through and watch it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
use the free trial, give it a go, and if you're not gripped or intrigued, then I just say sack it.
I don't
I
know
had to
what it
get
is.
I had to get the I didn't even get to see Superman in his black suit. I didn't get to see a bunch of stuff that's from the old trailer that didn't actually make the original movie. I didn't get to see the Joker's new appearance, which apparently
That's
is at the
later
very,
on.
very end,
All right, okay.
in like a dream sequence or something with Batman. I'm just, I'm glad it's over. I'm never going to watch it again.
God, so we're never gonna
I
watch it
didn't
again.
even finish it.
It's a tough one. I mean, I get why they've done it, but I just don't know how. Everyone seems to think it's better. Because I remember we were slagging it off, and I read all
Yeah,
people were coming out with their reviews like, "This is the Lord of the Rings of the DC." I'm like, "Whoa, slow your slow your roll here."
yeah.
like,
Easy
hold
now.
up, easy, yeah, easy now, easy now. That's a pretty big thing to compare it to. Okay, so I will. Okay, so that is the end of Rory rants. He's fired. He's gone bright red in the face.
Yeah, and
He's
breathe.
fired up now. Fire. He needs to breathe.
I need
breathe,
to talk
Rory.
about something I genuinely love.
Oh dear. I don't think much else has happened in terms of news wise. Bits and pieces, but nothing. Nothing that we've kind of crosses over into us. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of
Anything you can think of off
games.
the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, no, nothing that's worth. Like, there's all these things that happen. Like, there's lots of games and stuff that are kind of like updates and stuff, but they're not. Like the Avengers game got an update.
Oh,
Marvel
that got
get
like a
like
Black
the
Panther update, didn't it?
yeah, it's got like a Black Panther update, but no one really plays it, so
Yeah.
it's not worth. It's not worth
Yeah, I
covering,
know
really.
one person that religiously plays it, and he
Wow.
works in the gaming industry, so
All right. Okay. Yeah. So it's obliged to play it.
he has to, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Obliged to play it.
So shall we just get onto the main topic of today's pod?
Yes, right. You want to tell me a conspiracy theory that that somehow the Pixar films, Disney Pixar films, are somehow all related to each other, even though they all are completely different things.
Yes. So if you've not read the title of this episode, this is basically the Pixar Theory, which is a theory thought up by a man named John Negroni.
Fantastic name. Does he like
Great
stiff
name. I'm
drinks?
pretty sure
I
that's
feel
like a beer or
it's
some sort of
not.
food.
It's a cocktail.
It's a cocktail, a Negroni.
Uh, yep. Somewhere
So
there's a barman cringing at the fact you just said that. You're gonna get a
yeah, I
verbal
know.
beatdown.
I am a
Never
barman. I'm
gonna
a
get served
cocktail
again.
barman. I'm a
Cocktail
trained,
barman cross surfer.
yeah. So yeah, anyway, the idea of this theory is that every single Pixar movie that exists in the same universe along one giant timeline. Okay.
Right.
It all starts with The Good Dinosaur, which is obviously based like 65 million years ago. And it is
Right.
basically based on the asteroid that was meant to hit Earth and destroy the dinosaurs, misses Earth. And you
Right.
see that it's in the movie, the asteroid misses Earth. It tells the rise and fall of toys, humans, animals, and machines, and takes place over millions of years, and finally ends in Monsters Inc. or Brave, depending on how you want to look at it, because it's one infinite loop, basically. And I'll explain why. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So
Right.
I'm going to go through every
So
single
confused.
movie, not every single movie, because a lot of them you can clump into one.
Right.
Every single movie that goes from The Good Dinosaur all the way to Monsters Inc. And then hopefully by then you will know that it loops around, and we'll just dive straight in,
Okay.
shall we? This
Yeah.
is
Call on then.
the Pixar theory as
Okay.
as what I've researched. You know,
Okay.
some people have other theories. This is the one I researched, and this is the one that kind of makes sense to me. So
Okay. Go
starting
on.
off with
Wow
The
me.
Good Dinosaur, 65 million years ago. It explains why Pixar universe is so similar to our own. It's just ever so slightly different. And it's right at the scene where you see the asteroid not hitting Earth, which kind of gives you that idea already that this is Earth, but it's not exactly how you know it to be because
Okay.
history has changed already. Okay.
Right. Okay. Yep.
As a result of the asteroid not hitting, the dinosaurs don't go extinct and apparently start to act less primitive, and develop agricultural skills. So you start seeing in the movie. Have you seen the Good Dinosaur?
Not for a long time.
Okay, so it basically when the asteroid misses, it like jumps a couple million years, and you've got the big long neck dinosaurs are farming, and they're farming corn and like holding corn and stuff.
Yes, yes,
The
I do
T
remember that.
Rexes are now ranchers, and they're like ranching herbivores, and they're getting
Yes,
attacked by
Sam Elliott plays a T-Rex
yeah.
cowboy. Yes, I remember this.
And yeah, so basically all these dinosaurs are starting to have like kind of human mannerisms on how they
So,
develop Earth, and they're farming and they're thinking about longevity and things like this.
so it's like, what if dinosaurs had thoughts and feelings?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But then fate, I'll put that in inverted commas, fate, which we'll get into in Brave, has a way of
Okay.
catching up with you, and a bunch of crazy bad weather eventually wipes out the dinosaurs, and we basically start from what the Earth wanted to start with initially. Okay, it
Right.
helps us
Okay.
establish that if you're the kind of animal that can survive without human intervention, like a rat or a pelican or anything that lives underwater, you're probably going to develop some kind of intelligence within this Pixar universe.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Unless you're a human that gets turned into an animal like Meredith's mum does in Brave.
Okay. Right. So
Okay.
now we're in Brave, and
So, which
Scotland has
leads
become a
us,
thing.
yeah, there's a lot of nice little segues that lead us right into the next movie. Okay. So,
Okay.
Brave, set in the 10th century of Scotland, we'll just pause for celebration that we're involved. Yeah, Scotland's in something.
Yeah.
So,
Woohoo. And this film,
Brave,
for people that haven't seen it, is basically Pixar saying, "What if Scottish people had thoughts and feelings?"
yes, this is all about thoughts and feelings in Scotland.
Yeah.
So it's based on Princess Meredith, which is a really hard name to say, and
It's not
it's a very
Merida.
old school
It's
Scottish name.
Merida.
Is it Merida? I thought it
It's
was Meredith.
Merida. Yep.
Shit. Sorry, Pixar fans.
It's the
She's been
one
trying.
Scottish thing, Rory.
Yeah. So going back to the subject of fate, this whole movie is about her trying to change her fate, which is basically not getting married. Because back then in medieval times, it was all about um, like your parents picked your groom,
Yeah, arranged marriages.
arranged marriages. She ends up following some blue lights. I think they're called wisps,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
which brings her to the witch that lives in a little cabin. And this is where the whole theory starts, basically. She meets the most
Right.
important and most interesting character in this whole theory. And the most important thing about this witch is her workshop. It has so much going on in the workshop. First of all, it introduces us to magic. So we now know that there's magic in this universe. She is able to make things behave in a way that they shouldn't behave. Like the broom starts sort of acting like a person, and
All right.
the
Classic
knife,
Disney.
like classic Disney, the knives that she like puts on Meredith suddenly look at her when she says
Mm.
something wrong, and they're like, hold on, like almost like they have feelings and thoughts. Um,
Okay.
and also in the background, well, before I say this, she is obsessed with bears,
Yep.
which is a very convenient thing about what we talked about yesterday, last week even. She's obsessed with bears, and what Pixar animal or character resembles a bear, Duncan?
Is this where you're talking about the fact there's just like a Sully doll or something
Yeah.
in the work? In the
So, like what Pixar does all the time, is it puts little Easter eggs in the background of things.
okay.
And within her workshop, there's a carving of the Pizza Planet car,
All right. Okay.
which makes no sense
Right.
because it's medieval Scotland. So, is she from the future? Can she go and time travel and things like that? How
I
does she
don't know.
know? Is it just an Easter egg?
Harry
Probably.
Potter and the time traveling Scottish witch.
But there's another engraving that you see in the background, which is an engraving of Sully.
Yep.
And that's where this, because she's obsessed with bears, and then there's Sully in the background, and you think, now we're onto something. Okay.
Okay.
Also, her crow can talk to humans, and her door doesn't work the same as I've known doors to work. In
Right.
terms of
Okay. I don't-
so at one point she takes Meredith out of her workshop, closes the door, opens it again, and it's a different room.
Oh, okay. So like
Again,
the doors from
looping
Monsters
back to
Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Is that where you're
Yeah,
going with this?
going
Right.
back to
Okay.
Monsters Inc. Okay. She also has the ability to change someone's fate. Okay,
Right.
which also kind of makes me think about how she's changed her fate And I won't tell you who we think she is, but I'm pretty sure you know who she is because she's obsessed with bears and Sully.
You can't think you're. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
People that are listening that know Pixar,
I
you
can put
probably
two
can jump on
together.
that quicker than Duncan. So far, with these two
Thinking.
movies, we've established that humans and animals are both capable of intelligence. But as I introduce in the next movie, we get the third player in the game, which are machines. So this is a battle of humans, animals, and machines. You're laughing. Why
Oh
are you
my
laughing?
god. Why am I laughing? I just
It's a
don't
great theory.
It's a great theory, yeah. It's
So,
just funny thinking about them writing this on the
right,
wall with
this
the
one
red
man,
string.
this
Yeah.
one man, it's like the Pepe
Pepe
Silva meme.
Sylvia. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Pepe Sylvia.
Everywhere I
Yeah,
go, all I see is Pepe Silvia. So it's basically now we're in the power struggle between these three groups that will pretty much define the middle section of the theory. Okay.
Right.
So we're going to dive deeper into machines with next movies, The Incredibles 1 and 2, because they're basically one after the other. And it's set pretty much in the 1950s, 60s. Okay.
Yeah, that sort of
Yeah. So
aesthetic.
we're introduced in this movie to supers,
Yep.
who are basically the peak human existence, who live in a world of I'm reading this. They live in a world of consistent crime and danger and do their best to fight it until ultimately they're outlawed, which basically starts the whole Incredibles movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not before they're outlawed, you see a scene of Mr. Incredible in his heyday basically insult this little kid when he
This is
like
his number one fan.
his number one fan,
Yeah.
who ends up becoming Syndrome and then becoming like the bad guy of this whole movie. Syndrome basically spends his whole life developing a technology to kill supers so that he can then pretend to be the
He's
best super and the only one that
technically
is
he's not
there.
pretending to be the best super because like he's basically just Iron Man.
He is
Because Iron
basically
Man doesn't have any
like he
powers. He's
develops
just
technology and that's
yeah.
actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Um,
this is basically what would happen if like superheroes had thoughts and feelings.
hmm. Yeah, you see the pattern. and then spoiler alert, the AI creates thoughts and feelings. And the AI that Syndrome created basically becomes smart enough to defeat him. And even though he dies during his cape being a terrible design, he basically
No
introduced
capes.
no capes. He basically has introduced artificial intelligence into the Pixar universe. So this
Right, okay.
marks the end of humans in terms of power. More, not so much power of the world, but like top tier um, food chain type power. Basically, end of humans as the machines don't exactly take over immediately, but this is now the growth of the machines and the end of the humans. Okay.
Right, okay. So it's gone full Terminator.
Yeah, basically. Are you keeping
Yeah.
up?
Yes.
Yeah, it makes
I'm
so far
keeping
making
up.
sense. Okay, so in the next few movies, they show us how the animals continue to get smarter while the humans are still doing okay. So machines are progressing as well as the humans staying linear, and then the animals are
Mhm.
also progressing and developing intelligence. So the
Okay.
next up, these movies involve Toy Story, Inside Out, Up, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo / Finding Dory. Okay,
Right.
this is our middle section, and it's the most bullet points that I've ever made in my life.
That's a
Clear my
lot.
throat.
It's a full clip.
Okay, so
That
um,
sounds like the COVID.
the
Y'all
COVID.
got the COVID there?
So uh, these movies range from basically 1995 to 2015. So this is based
Okay.
solely on our generation of what we've lived in.
So like Up, Toy Story,
Yeah,
Finding
Ratatouille, Inside Out,
Nemo,
Finding
right?
Nemo. It's
Yeah,
all based
Inside
on
Out.
our lifespan so far, and it introduces B&L, or by and large,
Mm-hmm.
which is a huge part in the Pixar theory, which I'll get into later. B&L are the company that you see trying to get Carl out of his house when they're building around him in Up.
Yes.
They're the construction company. They're also the
Okay.
company in Wall-E that
Yes, they
try
are.
and help get rid of the stuff from Earth. I also think they run the Starliners.
They do. They're like
Um,
Amazon.
yeah, and also they're the batteries that you see in a lot of the toys in Toy Story. Okay,
Yep.
so we've got all this happening, right? Toys are basically small forms of this AI that Syndrome developed way back when in the 50s, and
Right.
Discover, that human interaction or love is another source of energy which they thrive and discover what happens to toys when they're forgotten or neglected by humans. Okay. For example, they think love is an energy or a source of energy, which then brings us back to Monsters Inc., who use human laughter
Human
and love,
emotion.
human emotion, as energy.
Okay.
And when you're forgotten or neglected by a human, you kind of die out and you kind of like
Yeah.
stop
That's
moving, which
like
happens to
Inside
Wheezy.
Out, where Pixar thought, what if humans had thoughts and feelings?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so you get Wheezy, who was on the shelf in Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 2, yeah. So he's
Yes.
like slowly dying because Andy's mum put him on a shelf and Andy's kind of forgotten about him.
I thought he was slowly dying because he was broken, because he got stood on.
Well,
That's why
yeah,
his
and then he
squeaker
got
was
put on the
broken.
shelf
Yeah.
and he's like slowly dying.
All right. Okay. It's morbid.
I guess that's what
Pixar's so
that's what they
morbid
said.
at times.
So, so basically, the toys develop an obsession to be around humans, making their owners happy even when they're separated, which is basically
Okay.
Woody's whole character development.
That's pretty
Um,
much it.
Meanwhile, animals continue to develop intelligence parallel to humans. We see Dory, however, through sheer exposure to humans, speeds up the process of intelligence. Okay. Dory grew up in captivity and surrounded by humans and developed skills like reading English and learning another language. So Dory,
Right, okay.
so
But
in
what about Nemo?
well,
How
so
does
Nemo
Nemo
wasn't
learn English?
well. So this is what I'm saying is Dory got separated by her family in Finding Dory, and then was picked up by a fisherman and put in a um, zoo,
Tank
an
or
aquarium.
the aquarium?
So she was brought up basically with humans. So she learned to read, whereas Nemo didn't. He was just
Ah,
captured,
right, okay. They
put in a
just
fish
talk to
tank.
each other.
Yeah, but
So they can all
within
talk English, but she can read English. I've not
she
actually
can,
seen
yeah.
Finding
So
Dory,
she
so I
can read
wouldn't know.
English because she sees the word escape, and
Ah, right, okay.
she then knows that it's 22 Wallaby Way, Sydney, or whatever it is on the
Okay.
guy's mask. And she can also speak another language like whale, which is intelligent. But then also in that same movie, we see fish in a fish tank ultimately put one over the humans and escape.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
they
That's
find a way
pretty
to escape
entertaining.
and terrify the crap out of Darla, who probably has a fear of all fish now.
I think that'd be entirely accurate. It's
Yeah,
like Sid probably never got over the fact that Woody spun his head round like the fucking
yeah,
exorcist.
that's absolutely terrifying.
Be good to your toys. Now just
Meanwhile,
play nice. Ah.
back on land, we also see that a rat who loves human culture and society eventually becomes one of the best chefs in France. Which also shows that animals thrive off the mere presence of human emotion.
And they have thoughts
Seeing
and feelings.
humans get, loving cooking and being around French chefs, and then he loves cooking, and he just develops this ability to be one of the best chefs in France. Okay,
That's that Disney magic.
Disney magic. Toy Story 3 mostly gives us more evidence that these movies are all connected and are all in the same timeline. Darla from Finding Nemo apparently is seen in the corner of a magazine in Toy Story 3.
Really?
I
That's
did the
a
research.
stretch.
I
That's
know.
a stretch.
Um, Boo from Monsters Inc. is seen as an older child in Toy Story 3.
Is she?
She's playing with a doll in one of the rooms.
Oh, I feel like
That's
that's
been
just a
confirmed.
reused character
That's
model.
been confirmed. And it's not, no, it's an older version of her. It's like what Boo would
Oh,
look
right,
like
okay.
as a toddler rather than a 3-year-old, I guess.
All right, okay.
Carl and Ellie from Up are shown to have known Andy, and this is like, we don't have to get into this whole thing, but this is like a letter that is on Andy's cork thing,
Yep.
and it's also a letter that's in Up, and it's about this person called Jean, I think. But that basically confirms that those two know each other, even though it's a huge different timeline.
John
And
Negroni guy sounds like he's got way too much
oh
time
my
on his
god,
hands.
right?
Should be
And then
watching Justice League or something.
oh god, yeah. I mean, well, this is more. This he's used his time a lot more because I'm enjoying this more. But most importantly, we see Buzz's batteries are powered by B&L, which proves the link between B&L and sentient toys. Okay.
Disagree with that one because Mr. Potato Head doesn't have any batteries.
Well, that's also because of human emotion. and sentient toys. So it's about being
That's
around
a
humans and
okay.
batteries. Okay.
That old catch-all.
Next is Up, where we see the potential of humans as they create technology to allow animals to talk to them through basically the dog collars,
Yep, remember
a
that.
progress that we will fully realize
Point.
later in the movie. And Inside Out, we finally are introduced to the source of human energy, which is emotions, because humans have emotions, and it's all from imagination and emotion and things like that. Okay. And emotion, as
Yep.
well as imagination, has differing levels of power based on the person, as demonstrated in Monsters Inc. So the joy emotion and the happiness emotion and your imagination seem to have more power than sadness. And she was just sort of sitting there all sad. And it was that lady from The Office. What was
Right.
her name?
What was
Did you
it?
watch? What was her name in The Office?
Who?
Not
Which one?
Sandra. No, the sad one with the glasses, the salesman. Phyllis.
Phyllis?
Yeah, Phyllis. That she plays sadness. She's very good.
Ah, right, okay.
And another little um, call back with Inside Out is Bing Bong. And yeah, I have written this here. We see Bing Bong, who is Riley's imaginary friend. Okay.
Yes.
We could also theorize, again, this is just a theory, that Bing Bong could have been her comedy monster that
Oh,
comes from her closet and gives her jokes to laugh at, which could have been from Monsters Inc. Another little reference. Okay. From the
okay.
future, I'll say as well. And that's a little nod to what we're about to get to.
When are we getting the Pixar Avengers film? That's what I want to know.
I know, right? They all
When are,
combine.
when are they all going to combine?
So
Well, we nearly
that,
got that when all the toys got chucked into the melting machine at the end of like Toy Story 3.
yeah.
And like the deleted scene, they all just come out the furnace as one like mangled metal of plastic.
Did they really?
Like, no.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just very super morbid.
Excuse me. Okay, moving on. So from 2015 all the way to 2057,
Jesus.
basically the Earth deteriorates as man basically fucks it with pollution and being ignorant and shit like we all are. So by 2057, B&L has taken over the entire world and its governments. So
Yep.
not just a battery or a construction company. They're every shop in the world, and they are these spaceships that have taken people up into space because Earth is overpopulated. All right.
Yep.
And then in 2105, mankind is evacuated, so B&L can restore Earth with the help of the Wall-E units. All right. So we're in Wall-E now. They accomplish this in about 5 years by incinerating the world's garbage. But as they do this, it leads to more pollution of the air that makes Earth unlivable. So all the humans have
Yep.
to basically stay in space aboard these starliners, and one, and most importantly, called the Axiom, because that's like the main one that we look at. All right.
Okay.
So while this is happening, because we go back to Wall-E later on, because Wall-E kind of cleans up after
Right.
this. While
Yep.
that's happening in space, with the humans all gone, machines are left to rule the world unchecked.
Well, I guess cars.
Exactly. Cars 1 to 3, which is based 2110 to 2804, is when Cars basically owns the world. Okay?
Okay, but they're machines, but the technology doesn't improve. Really,
No.
all the cars are exactly the same.
Yeah, but there is a theory that because Cars 1 are all these petrol engine cars, but Cars 3 introduces battery powered cars, the theory is
Right.
that they wake up in the sort of same timeline as they're invented.
Okay.
Okay. So, following
Yes.
the rules of Toy Story, the cars that were owned by humans who loved them come to life and try and find a new purpose. But without humans around, they assume the roles of their previous owners and carry on human traditions as the planet slowly heals. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So basically, these cars are being who their owners were, but only if they were loved. Which is why, yeah, I know
Okay.
it's pretty hectic. And then in
Right.
Cars 2, which is a dog eggs movie,
Dog eggs. What, dog eggs? Why are you calling it? I've never heard that
instead of
expression.
just saying dog shit.
You
um,
may as well just say that.
Basically, in Cars 2, they introduced that there's not enough fuel to go around every car. let alone human emotion to power them. So eventually, you can assume the cars like die out as well. Okay, they run
Okay.
out of petrol and they run out of human emotion and basically memory. Again, what if cars had memory?
What
Basically,
if
run
cars
out.
had thoughts and feelings?
Exactly.
It's like Wally when they had what if robots had thoughts and feelings? We're getting to see a pattern here.
There is a pattern here. So coming back to Wally, um, during the start of Cars, um, Operation Cleanup ends basically, and B&L evacuate before one city is finished. The last Wally unit is still cleaning things up, and this is basically the whole story of Wally. He's the last little robot that's there, and he survived this long. One, because he's solar powered, and two, because of his obsession with human trinkets, which gives him the will he needs to survive. Okay? Because of human trinkets and the memory of humans, he's able to keep running as well as solar energy. But solar energy probably means more sense.
Yeah,
um,
I would think so.
and then later he helps Eve, who's another robot, bring a Starliner back to restore Earth so humans can then repopulate and start over again. Okay?
Okay,
That leads us to A Bug's Life,
a Bug's
which
Life. Oh my God,
I know,
Pixar
which
Bug's
you're
Life.
thinking, A Bug's Life, when is this? This is actually in the future as well. So
Is it though?
it
Like
is.
I feel like this is it gets like you had me in the middle, you had me in the
Yeah.
first half. Not gonna
Okay.
lie,
Yeah.
but I feel like this theory
It's
starts to
pushing it
lose
now.
legs
Yeah.
as it gets to like the his bit.
So, In a Bug's Life, which is set in 2898,
Really?
after apparently,
Right?
this is what
Okay.
I looked up. After nearly a century of repopulation, human emotion energy has returned a spark to the world, enough to prompt insects and birds into rebuilding their own societies, starting small by repurposing leftover human artifacts as cities. So, this explains why in A Bug's Life, they're more concerned about weather and insects rather than humans, like stepping on them.
But I thought they were only yeah, but maybe they live in a field somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. So because they don't seem to care much about humans, um, but they prove to be much smarter than other animals, likely because they've survived the Cars era, as shown in the cockroach in Wally, because Wally is set sort of in between cars, and you see a cockroach, which is a bug,
Yep. Okay.
right? So these bugs have clearly had time to develop before humans got back to Earth and are intelligent life, basically. More so than the birds,
Okay.
who the birds obviously weren't there because of the pollution. So the bird in A Bug's Life is still quite feral.
Right.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Right. Yeah.
They're
Okay.
more primal. Bugs basically are also inventing things, putting on circuses, and developing an interconnected civilization of their own.
You're
Okay,
sure you're not the bird's not just looking at the bug because birds and bugs speak a different language, so maybe they don't understand each other.
possibly, but that's not how they did it in the movie. Also, a key word in that little synopsis thing there was spark, which adds brings us to this is me spitballing rather than being dead on. Brings us to Soul because the movie in Soul talks about how. Have you seen it yet?
Nope.
No. So it
I should
talks
have.
about
But I haven't.
how before life and the afterlife. So in the before life, you have to sort of you get given a personality, but you have to find the spark that lets you go to Earth and be born. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So they go into the room of a bunch of stuff. I can't remember what it's called. A room of a bunch of stuff. And basically, these little before born people get their spark because they get like mine might have been surfing, or yours might have been Star Wars,
Star Wars. I don't know.
or
Definitely
podcasts,
not.
or you know. And
Podcast.
then the room of everything basically has the Pixar Easter egg cave of wonders. So if you look into that, there is so much Pixar stuff that basically adds everything into the same universe.
Oh,
Because Soul seems to be sort of in the 2000s era from the way like he's got like an iPhone and stuff like that.
yeah. It's set now.
It's
Set
set
like
now, yeah.
2020.
However, when you go into the world of everything or the room of everything, you see the axiom in the background, which is in the future.
Okay.
So obviously, it's been built to be someone's spark later on, but not right now.
Right.
if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Right.
So that
Yeah.
just adds, I feel like it adds soul to the theory. That was just my ad because the soul wasn't in this
Oh, it's not. Oh,
article.
oh, you're
Wasn't in the
taking it
article that I
on.
read. However, so
You're finding Pepe Sylvia.
yes, I digress. After A Bug's Life, we move swiftly on to Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. So once humans are back on Earth and they're living their lives and the bugs are very intelligent and things like that, what the theory is that humans and or bugs develop enough, and because of the Earth and this and the air not quite being good oxygen and maybe a little bit uh,
Right.
toxic, they have developed into monsters. This is a long shot. Okay,
I think this is the Hail Mary of this.
what they'd written here is there's a myth that humans who look like animals or mons rebelled against
Mods. Oh,
rebelled against
Pokemon.
humans. So apparently this is in the DVD extra of Monsters Inc.
Right.
Where
Is-
humans that look like animals rebelled against humans at some point, and then they took over the world, and then that's what morphed into monsters.
And that's in a
Okay.
DVD extra.
It's a DVD extra on Monsters Inc. And the myth coincides with the idea that animals have finally evolved past humans, which is what we were going for anyway, with Bug's Life and things like that.
You hear that? That's the bottom of the barrel being scraped.
Um, so, still reliant on human emotion as power, the monsters start Monsters Inc. and Monsters University in order to harvest energy from the past where humans are still around. Okay?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
following?
I am
Okay.
following. Yes.
So they use their doors as portals through time. The monsters
Sorry.
keep the facts secret in order to preserve the timeline. Okay? Because if too many people know about the timeline, then the timeline's the whole Back to the Future thing.
But they all know. They all know.
But they
I
don't
thought that
they,
was the
they
point of
don't know they're
Monsters,
going
Inc.
back in time. They know they're going to the human world. But the human world
Right. Okay.
is their world, but way back in nowadays. Okay?
Right.
So
Okay.
the fact that they're preserving this fact to maintain the timeline convinces all monsters that anything from the human world is extremely toxic or a 2319.
Okay.
So they never want to touch anything. They want to get in
Yep.
and out. They don't want to do that, anything like that, because
Yep.
they think it's toxic, which allows them to stay in their world and the timeline is fine. Okay?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. This is why time travel is such a horrible story.
Exactly.
Guys.
Which then brings us very nicely back to Brave. Okay? Or back to Monsters Inc. Basically, at the end of Monsters Inc., Sully has discovered that laughter and joy are more powerful emotions than screams and fear. Okay?
Yep.
This ends the Pixar timeline at a moment of true harmony between humans, animals, and machines. However, Sully exposes Boo to the monster world. She's desperate to find Sully again, and she remembers the power of the doors. Boo grows up to become basically a witch
Oh, for
in order to find Sully.
Right. No, I'm done. I'm done now. It doesn't make any sense.
I know, which is the same. Basically, this is the same witch from Brave who's traveled to the past to find Sully, who looks like a bear. Is that a coincidence? She's obsessed with bears. She has a carving of Sully in her workshop. She's not realizing that Sully lives in a distant future. Boo uses the doors as portals. She has items from various points of time and even has a carving of her in the workshop. Okay? So I went deeper into this. And also it comes back to
Oh, but wait, there's more.
there's more. Basically, there's also the thing of Coco. So Coco is another Pixar theory about
Uh-huh.
the Day of the Dead in Mexico.
Yep. Yep.
But what that represents is those living in purgatory who haven't had their second death to like go beyond are sitting in this
But what about
land
you've
of
had
the
first death, but what about second death?
they're sitting in the land of the dead that once a year are allowed to come back to the land of the living in the Day of the Dead if they're remembered. Okay, so this adds to the
Okay.
theory that Boo wants Sully to survive and to live and to be remembered. And what is a better way to keep someone alive than to know someone in the future and then travel to the past?
Oh no.
Such a brain fuck.
Right. Okay, this has got a little bit too much James Cameron for me.
Yeah, I know. And then irrelevant. This
James
is where it kind
Cameron.
of gets off the rails for me. Onward, which is about fairy tale creatures
Elves
and
and
elves
fairy
and
tale
stuff,
creatures, yeah.
and like he creates his dad's legs and has an
Yes, he
adventure with his
does.
dad's legs. um, Onward apparently takes place on another planet because it has two moons.
Oh
Um,
no.
but at the same
No,
time,
no,
at the
no,
same time, they have a lot
no.
of human products and a lot of human mannerisms. And actually, one of the records in the house is the recording artist that is featured in Soul.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That would, you
So the
sure they're not
theory
just
is,
Easter eggs?
yeah. So the
It's
theory
not
is that
just
it's not an Easter egg, that they could be an evolution of humans that landed on this planet from one of the starliners in Wall-E that didn't go back to Earth.
Why? Oh wow. I bet he had a few Negronis before he made this up.
No.
I do a few Negronis just listening to it.
Maybe he changed his name because of this.
I would. This is mental.
I know.
Like,
So that concludes the Pixar theory
the
that I
Pixar theory.
researched. If the listeners, if you guys want to comment on the theory, if we miss something out, if you know more than I do, leave us a comment on YouTube or Instagram. Give us a DM or write to us on Twitter. That's Class Pod. I think Duncan's flabbergasted.
I'm just watching. There's a van pulled up outside with two guys in black suits and earpieces, and they've got a
Oh my god.
they've got this, and it's got a Mickey Mouse logo on the side. Looks like they're
Is it Mickey Mouse
they've
doing like the shush sign?
that's it. Yeah, it's Mickey Mouse doing the shoe set. They put a little antennae on the top and they're pointing at the window as if to say, they know too much. I'm waiting for
We
a
know
red
too
dot
much.
to appear
We've
in my
shared too
wait for,
much in the internet.
wait for a red dot to appear on my forehead.
That's awesome.
Right. Okay.
So
Wow.
other than some of the, I think the start of it makes a lot more sense than the end. The end is clutching at straws, I reckon.
I think he started off like he's not started at the end of this theory and worked backwards. He's definitely started at the start, and it's because there's so much time like between the good dinosaur.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. What
And then,
happens
like,
between
Brave.
65 million years ago and the 10th century?
It doesn't make any. Some of it makes sense, and then some of it is just complete.
The whole
Wow.
the whole thing from Brave to The
Wow.
Incredibles to Toy Story makes sense with artificial intelligence and with B&L and with human emotion, because all these animals and all these toys seem to start becoming more intelligent and acting more human. But then it kind of, for me, yeah, it goes off the rails when we go into A
Yeah,
Bug's
I
Life.
think
and
there's a few off
stuff.
the rails.
A Bug's Life into Monsters Inc.
I hope
is pushing
you've
it.
never taught. I hope you haven't discussed this with lots of people, Roy. Well, you have now.
I
but it's
haven't.
out there.
I mean, for
You
those that
haven't.
have listened, we've now discussed it with all of them.
Oh, that was.
You need a
right.
little rest.
I need rest now. Yeah, that's a. I don't know. This could be quite too heavy for a morning commute.
Oh, it's interesting for him. All right, just made it fly by. Shall we end it there, Doug?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice
I
one.
need time to digest all of this.
Well, that's all from us this week at That's Class. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. And if you like this episode, consider subscribing, leave us a like and a review. We accept 5-star reviews as a minimum.
Absolutely.
Please tell your friends about the pod as well. It really helps us out when more people get, told about it. You could even lie to your friends, tell them that it's amazing, that they'll really like it, so that they'll listen to it, and then they'll be like, "Why? I don't like this at all." The more listens we get, the better we feel about ourselves. We upload a new episode every Monday morning, just in time for your commute, be it to work or the kitchen. We are available on wherever you get your podcasts. If you have something you want us to cover, or you didn't like something that we talked about today, you can catch us on all the socials. Twitter and Instagram is That's Class Pod. We have a YouTube channel as well called That's Class. If you fancy watching us talk, you can put faces to the voices and instantly regret making that decision. Videos go up every following Wednesday. A big shout out to Stuart Hoskin for supplying the intro music.
Yes, indeed.
We hope you enjoyed listening and that you will tune in again next week to That's Class. Goodbye from me, and say goodbye, Duncan.
Goodbye, Duncan.
Peace.